let's get going here with adding data to a map. We're going to start with how do you add data stored on your computer to your map, and you've got a few different options. So let's kind of get to it there. And we're going to go back to the Section 3 demo that we've been working on. So pull that back up. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Spokane County because I told you not to follow along with me on that. I was just wanted to show you something. And I'm going to go ahead and let's just zoom to our bookmark. That gets us back to Spokane Community College, so we're seeing the same view. I'm going to go over here to my catalog, and I'm going to hit the pin here to hold my catalog in place so that I can look at some things on it. All right. Next, so we've got, let's see, we've got our folders and our databases. And so what I want you to notice here is we don't have anything in the geodatabase for this project yet because we haven't put anything there. That geodatabase was just created when we created the project. And then if I go to my folders, similarly, I don't have anything in here that I could add to my map. And that's because we created this project together and I haven't preloaded any data into it. So what we want to do is we want to get to some data, to add some data to map to show you how to do that. And because we've done some of these demonstrations together before, I happen to know that in your favorites, you favorited the folder you made for this class, and into that we downloaded some of the data that we could use. If I remember right, yeah, we didn't add anything there, but you should have your county utilities data here, and so let's go ahead and work with the county utilities data. And the way that we're going to work with it in this project, if I want to work with some data in a project more than just on a once in a while basis, I'm going to right click, I'm going to hit add to project. So my county utilities data is now going to show up in my project folders. There it is, county utility data. And if I look inside of that, I've got 3 different geodatabases. I could also add those databases to the project if I wanted to by right-clicking and adding them to the project. And now that database is going to show up here in my project as well. My home geodatabase, where things, when we get all the way down the road and we're creating files, would be added automatically to this home geodatabase, but I can have other geodatabases in that. So what I wanted to show you is, first of all, how to get a folder from your favorites into your project, which we just did, and then how to take a geodatabase from your project folder and get that into the databases for the project, and we just did that. You can add data from either location, so let's go ahead and, I kind of like parks and boundaries. Let's go ahead and add city parks, and there's a few different ways we can add that. So I can add it from my folders, or I can add it from my databases. Either way works. It's just different ways of being connected. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let's drag and drop. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to drag it onto the map, and I'm going to release it. And now it kind of takes me back in scale so that I can see that whole layer of all of the city parks in Spokane. Okay, so that's one way that I can add something to the map. Let's add the county parks. I can do that by right-clicking and saying add to current map. So that's another way to add it to the project. Now I've got my county parks. And let's see, state parks, I can also drag this over to my contents, and I can add it wherever I want it to be in the contents. So now I've got my state parks. So we did 3 different ways of adding data to the map. Go ahead and do that. You yourself. And sometimes I feel like I go slow enough you can follow right along, but sometimes you probably need to pause yourself. So go ahead and do that, and then let's go back and take a look at our workbook. So you can drag and drop a feature class onto your map, yes, or into your contents, pane. If you drop a feature class below the base map, let me show that. Below the base map in the contents pane, it won't show up on the map. Why? So let's take a look at that. So let's say I wanted to add Spokane County, and I pull it over here to my contents pane, and I drop it right there. I can't see it. Like, where's Spokane County? I don't see it. Why don't I see it? I added it. Is there something wrong with the file? No, there's nothing wrong with the file. It's just that it's underneath my base map. If I were to turn my base map off, there's Spokane County, right? And the way I could fix that without turning my base map off would be to add it like that. Now, of course, you guys know that if I'm using a base map, I don't want to have an opaque polygon. So this is a filled polygon, and all of these are filled polygons. And so I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the base map, because there's no use having a base map if you've got solid stuff over it. All right, so that's not too pretty, but we demonstrated adding data in a few different ways to the map. Let's go back to our workbook. Okay, why? Because it is beneath the base map and covered by it. All right. You can. Okay. Let's see. You can also right-click and select Add to Map. You can also right-click and select Add to Current Map to add a feature class to your map from a geodatabase connected to your project or from any geodatabase on your computer or cloud storage. Let's go ahead and demonstrate that. So if I go over here, this is kind of one of the newer features, which is kind of fun. If I go over here to Computer, this is showing me like all of my files. And so I go to, let's remember where I got my Nielsen, Maryland, OneDrive, Community Colleges of Spokane. So you have to know where your OneDrive is, if that's where you're saving things, and that's where I do have things saved for this class. And then I could go, let's see, go into one of my folders here. I should go into a folder that you guys also have, which, well, we don't have enough folders in common right now. My ENVS 220 demonstration files. I might have something in here. No. So I'll just show you. You don't have to follow along, but this is just, I could go to my county utilities data. I've got it over here too, right? And so this is on my computer. Now it's going to have to go into OneDrive and take a look and find the stuff I have there because they're not downloaded yet. But I can also add things directly from my computer. They don't have to be in my project. They don't have to be in my favorites. It might take a little bit longer and you'll have to dig. But if I wanted to, I could right click and add to current map. And like I said, it'll take a little bit longer and it's a big file, but now I have my roads all in gaudy purple. So ugly map. We're not working for pretty yet. That's going to be like our next section where we start to work on the symbolization. But we have effectively added data in a few different ways. So that's something. All right. Oh, okay. So then we showed that. Now we have another option here. Let's look at the Add Data button here. And we've got some options available there. I don't usually use these options. I usually drag and drop, but if you go to Map, the Map tab, and you go to Add Data, you can add data to the map this way, you can add it using a location path there, or if you want to add XY point data, I'm going to show you how to do that shortly, but add data to the map just gives you an option. Now you can navigate to your folders. You can navigate to your folders this way and add things to the map. All right. What's next? Let's see here. And then, yeah, so we navigate to the location. It's, or you can paste a file path and add a feature class from that pane. Let's go ahead and add data from a path just for practice. Not that I use it very often, but let's go ahead and go back to our project and let's look in our folders. let's have you guys, I'm going to remove the road segments here, and then let's have you guys add the road segments by a path. So I'm going to click on that so I got the path, or at least I should have the path, maybe not. It doesn't show up that way. Okay. Let's see, where was my favorites located? GIS Basics Demonstration Files. Okay, so I'm going to go into my projects and go into my GIS Basics Demonstration File. So I'm just pulling up File Explorer. You can go to where you saved the data for this class. I'm going to go into my county utilities and road segments geodatabase. Yeah, this is kind of ugly, but then I click up here to get the path, copy it, go back to my map, add data from path, and theoretically if I paste my path in here, let's see, and I'm going to call it road segments, because that's what it's called, road segments. I could hit add, and oh, okay, apparently it's an unsupported data type. I'm not sure why. Yeah, so apparently you can add things from a path, but I've never done it because it's a lot easier to drag and drop or just to navigate to the location. So I'm not going to take the time to troubleshoot that during the demonstration. I'll figure it out and I'll tell you about it when I get there. But if you want to use, search this way to add data, you can do that as well, but you may as well search over here, right? All right. Next, we are going to add XY data to the map. So something that you might find, especially if you're collecting data in the field or point data, is that you'll get a table of XY data, a table of latitude and longitudes. And so let me show you, in this project I actually have that in the project and county utilities map. Let me go back to my favorites, and what did I do with that? Okay, I'm going to take just a minute. This will be in the folder that you have for the class here shortly. I just haven't added it yet, but let me add it so that you'll have it when you get to it. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, I just got the data into the folder, and you will have this as part of the data you downloaded for GIS Basics. So you'll see it in the Section 3 Adding Data folder when you get to there. And let's go ahead and turn all of these off so they're not in the way. Turn back on our base map. Okay, so we're just we'll leave these up here because we might mess with them a little bit more later, but we can turn layers off and not deal with them for now. And then we can go ahead and go to our bookmark at Spokane Community College. Let's see, the next thing I was going to show you is how to add XY data. The kind of data that you'll get when you collect in the field, when you collect latitude and longitude, or northing and eastings if you're working in UTMs. So I'm going to go ahead and, so basically I've got a couple of things in there. This is my XY data here, and I want to show you what that's going to look like outside of GIS first. Okay, so if you're going to add XY data, let's see here. It's going to be in an Excel spreadsheet. You're going to need to put it in an Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to go ahead and open this in Excel. You can do the same thing. So you can go to where you saved the data for this project or for this class, and in that folder you should have something called Add Frog XY Data. So what I wanted to point out is when you add XY data to your map from like a spreadsheet, from where you've collected points, you need to follow all of your naming conventions for the headings here. So none of these headings can have spaces in them. So these are my headings for my frog data. You can use words like latitude, longitude, notes, species, but you can't have any spaces, otherwise it won't read the data in, and you can't start with a number or use any special characters like a pound sign. You're going to get an error if that happens. So if you're putting XY data into a spreadsheet to import into ArcGIS, you need to make sure that that the headings to your columns follow the naming convention. So that's the first thing. And the second thing I want to point out is that here in the Western Hemisphere, all of our longitudes are going to be negative. You're going to enter your latitude and longitude in decimal degrees. And in decimal degrees, we don't use an N or a W or an S or an E to indicate direction. We use the positive and negative signs. And so those signs are our longitudes over here in the Western Hemisphere are going to be negative. And then our latitudes are going to be positive. If you're working in like South America, your latitudes would be negative. If you're working in Europe, your longitudes will be positive. So if you look at that globe split into 4 quadrants, north is positive, south is negative, west is negative, and east is positive. All right. So each of these gets, we've got decimal degrees, we've got positive for north latitude and negative for west longitude. All right, so that's there. I just wanted to show you what it looks like in Excel, and then that's what we see here on the map. And that's the reason it has, I'm not sure why it did that, but I'm not going to worry about that. So now if I'm going to add data, I can add XY point data to the map. And so if I go to add data, that's where that was, XY point data, and it's going to open up a tool for me. You could get to this tool other ways, but I'm going to input the table here, and let's see, it's not, I have to put it in my map first. So I'm going to go to the catalog, and I'm going to go ahead and drag this onto my contents, and usually that works. I'm not sure why it's not working today. Might be because I need to save it as a CSV file. Yeah, okay, so we've got a few different spreadsheet file types. XLSX is a Excel spreadsheet. A CSV is a comma delimited spreadsheet, and that it actually reads into GIS better. I thought that this new version had updated, but apparently it doesn't allow that. So I thought the new version had updated to allow Excel files, but it looks like we're still working with CSV files like we were in older versions. So I'm going to go ahead and open my Excel file. I'm going to make sure I'm on the page that I want for the XY data I'm adding. I'm going to go up to File, Save As. And it's good that we're doing this together, so that when you need to do it on your own, you've already done it once. So I'm going to save a copy, and rather than saving it as an Excel spreadsheet, I'm going to save it as CSF. There it is, comma delimited. You can see that there's some different ones, CSV, UTF, and whatnot. Just come all the way down to you see CSV, comma delimited, and you're going to click on that one, and you're going to hit save. All right. For some reason it's saying I don't have internet. Hopefully that's wrong. Okay, so I've got this CSV file, and now I'm going to go ahead and minimize that, go back to GIS. It's not showing up here, but if I right click and I refresh, there's a new trick you're learning. If you make a change to a folder or the contents of a folder, then you're going to need to refresh for it to show up in your catalog. So I right click, I went down to refresh, that refreshed it. So now I've got the XY data as a CSV. I'm going to add it to the current map. Okay, so enter it in an Excel spreadsheet, save it as a CSV, add it to your map. There it is, a standalone table. And now when I go back to the tool that opened when I said add XY point data, this is the tool I get, the XY table to point tool. You can get to it other ways, but that's probably the easiest one. I'm going to tell it this is the table that I want to look at. Why is it not going there? I'm going to tell it the table to go to. All right. Because that folder is not part of it. Let's see. Section 3. Oh, it's because it's in my favorites, but I haven't added this folder to the project. It'll be easier if I add the folder to the project. Boom. There. I didn't realize I was in favorites. I thought I was over here in project. So I added it to the map, the table, but I needed to add the folder. containing the table to my project so that it shows up easily in the pull down menu here. I'm going to go ahead and come back and open that tool one more time so it refreshes it. So now my table is visible there. Okay. So my table is visible, and the reason it's visible is because I needed to reload the tool so that the tool would recognize my new folders that were in the project and the new tables that had been added to the map. Because each of these layers has an attribute table associated with it. So it's asking me, hey, do you want to add information for those attribute tables? No, I want to add information from the XY data that I have saved in a CSV file. So, and then it's going to output the features. The default name is going to be XY table to point. It's just going to take the name of your spreadsheet file, and it's going to add the extension XY table to point. Yeah, that could be fine. If not, you can change the name. It's going to save it to the default geodatabase for the project. That default geodatabase is just going to have the name of the project, which is section 3 demo. If I want to change the name, I could just call it frog XY data, or just frog XY. So I can just change that very end of the name there. My X field is going to be your longitude, and the Y field is going to be your latitude. So north-south is that Y direction, and east-west is that X direction. So it automatically filled those correctly. If this wasn't correct, if it said something else for your X field, you would tell it, no, that's wrong. The Z field would be if you have elevation. We don't have elevation associated with these points. So, and then today we're going to ignore coordinate system. This coordinate system will work fine. We're going to have a whole flippin' days of lecture on coordinate systems. So we're going to do that another time. That one will work fine for today, the default. So let's go ahead and add XY table to point. And let's actually see where those layers are. I'm going to show you a trick. If you want to see where the points are, you can right click and say zoom to layer. I use this all the time when I add a new layer and I don't know where it's actually supposed to be on the map. I hit zoom to layer. Oh, look at that. And I've got some points that have just been added to the map, including some that go all the way up north into Canada. So that's kind of fun. And that's where my data is. And now if I right click on this and look at the attribute table, it's got the data from the table that I created. As well as an object ID and a shape. These are all points. And I've got my species, latitude, longitude, and my notes. So that's kind of fun, isn't it? All right, so that's how you add XY data to a map. And sorry about the little mix-up in getting the spreadsheet set up right, but I'm glad that we got to do that together so you could kind of see, okay, this is what it looks like. I think that's enough for this segment of the demonstration. Let's see if we filled in everything that we needed to. Okay. Yes, we've got that. And we added stuff. We already practiced adding things from our computer. We looked at that. And when we come back in the next segment, we're gonna look at adding data from your GPS. We're gonna look at GPX files and KML files. So, Data Palooza continues.